Welcome to Working Dragon Mystic, where we discuss real, metaphysical, and occult knowledge so that you can manifest real and tangible results in your life. Today, we're going to talk about something a little serious and important. The 9 Noble Virtues and why they get such a good rap and a bad rap. So stay tuned. But first, Bob, take it away.
Well, hello there, seekers and prospective dabblers alike. I'm sure many of you have likely heard this before, but the Dark Roast Monster here is having me read this before I can go back to what I was doing, so please bear with me. Please consider supporting Drake and everything he is working on by utilizing the YouTube memberships. For each tier of said memberships, you may find that you unlock additional perks, such as private live streams, monthly spell workings, and others. Also, feel free to peruse some of our merchandise on our shop's page. We have t-shirts, towels, mugs, and many other items and garments, each with their own bit of art on them, like the Draconic Rulers and the Dragon's Eye Seal. We also have this one hosting regular live streams on Sundays at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you're one admin I'm thinking of in particular, remember to convert the time zone and set an alarm. At these streams, you can listen in on Drake's latest work, ask him questions, and generally have a decently thought-out discussion. For those looking for a more long-term involvement with the community, others to talk shop with, or peers to learn and develop alongside, please check out our community on Guilded. There, you'll find a variety of different people and different cultures and practices, and in one of the admin's case, a wonderful use of the mute button. I mean, that blonde one just, when he goes on a rant, he just goes, it doesn't stop. I mean, does he ever shut... What? Oh, okay, fine. On topic. For all interested in set, easy-to-follow courses on Magick and its many facets, take a look at Drake's online school on teachable.com. Here, he hosts a steadily growing roster of courses on different topics of magic. If you find that you don't see something that you're looking for, let us know. We'll try to find it or incorporate it in the future. From beginner to learned adept, all should find something that they didn't know prior. Links for everything I've mentioned in the description below.
Okay, so today we're going to have a serious conversation here. And I actually considered not doing this video, but I've been constantly getting emails and questions, which I do enjoy, but then I've also been getting some pretty nasty emails, accusations and the like, and not too okay with that, which I'm sure most of us would not be, to be falsely accused of something that we did not do or do not support, stuff like that. Okay, so before we get started, I think it is very important that I state that Working Dragon Mystic, this channel, myself, I do work a lot with Norse magic. I enjoy Norse magic. I work with the Norse entities quite a bit. That and dragon magic seem to be cornerstone to my life and my practice. I don't often refer to myself as a heathen or any of the particular religious stuff because I've stated on this channel I'm not a religious or spiritual person. I just focus on the magic. But I also talk about working with entities, befriending them, treating them with respect. And I have to admit the Norse entities are some of the best friends, most loyal that I've had. And I say all this because this channel is a supporter of the concept of Declaration 127, which is a very inclusive, very welcoming concept that basically says if you're one of these groups that deals in racism and all that crap, screw you, go away, you're not welcome here. And I'll be honest with you, I've never understood racism and crap like that since I was very, very young. It never made sense to me as a kid, and at no point in growing up did it ever make sense to me. So if you have a racist ideology or gatekeeping or whatever you want to try and call it, take it elsewhere, okay? As far as I'm concerned, I don't care who you are. I don't care what your skin color is. I don't care what your gender is. I don't care what your sexual orientation is. I don't care what your politics are. Because, well, first off, we don't really do politics on this channel. But I want to make it clear. I don't care about that. I want to know you. I want to know you as a person. That's it. That's all I want to know. I want to get to know a person. And if you're interested in learning magic and you're interested in self-mastery and you want to sit down and have a wonderful conversation, come on in. You're welcome. This channel is for everyone, okay? Now, with that said, now we have to get into the topic of today, which is the 9 noble virtues. Now, most people will hear the 9 noble virtues and they're like, well, that's good sense. That is true. And if you look at the 9 noble virtues and the ideals of the words or whatnot, in most cases, they're not a bad concept. But, their origins aren't. So, the origins of the 9 noble virtues, they were actually penned by some of the more racist groups, including, I don't even know if YouTube's going to let me say that, the groups, the neo-ins, and that really leaves a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. And I may get in trouble for doing this just because we're going to be trying to skirt this line. The ideals, the thought processes of the people who tried to pull from the Eddas and codify it and to create an almost heathenry 10 Commandments. The fact that they were racist, the fact that they were bad people. You know what? Screw it. They were Nazis, people. They were. And they were members of the National Socialists. And they were fascists. They were asshats. That's just it, okay? And that is a sad thing. That is a very sad thing. In fact, if you check out Jackson Crawford, he done a video on the 9 noble virtues that I really like. And he talks about how it tried to pull and distill the wisdom of the Havamal. And this is true, and I would agree with him that they did a very, very poor job of the Havamal. And he's very more articulate in this than I am. But the Havamal is meant to be meditated on. It's meant to be thought about. It's not meant to be shortened into like this little checklist. It's something that's you should meditate on daily, really, because the wisdom in there isn't just for heathens. It's not just for me. It's not just for Joe. It's not just for Bob. It's for anyone could meditate on the life experience wisdoms that are shared in the Havamal and learn something. They really can. That's not to say that it's always correct. It's not. No text is. But any text of wisdoms or psalms are meant to be meditated on. And I say that as a non-religious person. There is wisdom to be found, but you should not follow it solely, blindly, dogmatically. It should be meditated on. Now, that said, I often get asked, do I use the 9 noble virtues? Technically, no, I don't. Do I believe in some of the ideals of the words? Yes, not racism. Let's be clear here. When I say ideals, never do I believe in racism or hate for no reason. Believe me. Point blank, let's just cover that. But let's look at them, okay? Let's actually look at them for a second. In that list, you have courage. Do I think courage is a good thing? Yes. Now, I've heard a lot of people on the internet say, well, courage isn't inclusive because not everyone can have courage. Okay, that's a very modern ideal. First off, you don't have courage. You don't. Because they're always saying, well, some people are afraid. They can't. Courage isn't not being afraid. Courage is doing what is right in the face of ridicule, in the face of consequences. You do what is right. You stand up to the task even though you're afraid. If you're not afraid, you don't have courage. Okay, if you're not afraid to do the thing, there's no courage involved. But courage and teaching an individual to do what is right or what they believe to be right, even in the face of consequences, that's a good thing in my mind. I have stood up for a lot of people knowing that it's going to cost me, not because I want any praise, but because it was right to do. I don't got a problem with that. Then you got discipline. Okay, let's be honest. This day and age, people don't like this word. They don't like accountability in any shape, form, or fashion, much less the concept of self-accountability and discipline. They hate it. They despise it. They're looking for any get-out-of-jail-free card they can get. And that's sad. I do think discipline's a good thing, whether it be in craft, whether it be in work, whether it be in hobbies. I think discipline's important. Not everyone shows the same degree of discipline in all aspects of life. Ideally, we should. There's certain areas of my life I'm very, very disciplined in, and I am like a Zen master with my discipline. Then there's areas I suck. Plain up, I suck. I've been working on getting back in shape. I am making a lot of progress. But if I was just disciplined in my eating years ago and had been, I wouldn't even have to get back in shape. But I like food. Discipline didn't apply there. C'est la vie. But the understanding of discipline and understanding where you stand on your disciplines and understanding what you can work on and what your strong points are, those are beneficial to life. Now, the next one is usually split into two because the words get weird, and it's about virtue and fidelity. Fidelity, that's a tricky one because depending on how you determine fidelity, which is essentially loyalty to whatever, usually it's meant to a singular spouse or something. But what if you're polyamorous? Well, if you're polyamorous, that sounds like a slap to the face. No, because you could say your fidelity applies to all your spouses. You know, hey, if that's what's for you, fine. But when we look at virtue, I think that one's a little also kind of vague, but it sounds a little better to most people. Because essentially it's about being true to self and family and friends and community. That's really what this one comes down to. Being true. That's not a bad thing. I tell you I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. I tell you I got your back, I got your back. I don't backstab you, I don't steal from you. I help my community. I'm true to my community, my family, my friends. You get that? That's kind of where this one really generally goes. Then we got honor. Honor, I'm a huge one on honor. If you give a word, if you give an oath, you hold to it. By doing the best we can and living the best life we live, we do honor our ancestors. Honor is something that, again, it kind of falls back into that courage. You do what is right. You do what is... Well, yeah, you do what is right regardless of how it would affect you, and you live your life to try and be the best person you can be and uphold those values and those ideals to the best of your ability. Now, this is one, again, the reason I don't like this is distilled. They try to make it into like a little sentence. You can't. Honor's huge, huge. I would actually recommend reading books and philosophies on honor. Modern Bushido is a book I enjoy. There's an entire chapter of honor where he talks about the different viewpoints. It is true, it's getting a little more religious for some people's tastes, I admit, but the ideals and the philosophy is still there. We got to get away from not being able to listen to something just because it's not our taste. I'm not really fond of a lot of Christian-leaning texts or authors, but the wisdom's still there. And this is, again, one of the 9 noble virtues. Even if we exclude their origins, which leaves a bad taste in everyone's mouth, the concept of living a life as an honorable person is a wonderful concept. But we do have to understand honor, and we have to figure out what it means for ourselves. It's not as rigid a concept as some people might think. And the next one's hospitality. This is being good to your community and visitors and the like. Honestly, most people I know where I grow up, hospitality is law. And though it's becoming less and less common, the pagan community used to all be about hospitality, not just the heathens. But then again, with the world getting as chaotic as it is, I can see why a few people might be a little less and less inclined to be as hospitable. But that's okay. Then we got industriousness. Now this one, a lot of people have found to be a weird one, especially in more nature-based spiritualities and religions, because industriousness tends to make them think of the industrial revolution, the machines, the cars, the fossil fuels, they're technology bad. And I get that. I get that. Now, I would love for us to develop cleaner energies that would work and would replace what we got. But we can't just shut the system down because right now we don't have the technology. But it would take industriousness to do that, because we have to create it, we have to think, we have to move forward. We would have to work for it, we'd have to labor. Even if we had no industrial system and we went back to farming and agriculture strictly on a personal basis, you still have to get up and do the work. That's what this is. It's about taking pride and joy in the work you do to sustain yourself and your community. Now, this day and age, most of us really work mostly for ourselves, and that's not bad. There's nothing wrong with that, because ultimately, even working for yourself, you're still putting into the community, because you got to pay your bills, right? That puts into the community. It is interconnected no matter how you try to do it in some fashion. Even if you go fully off the grid, you've removed your strain on the community. So you're still actually kind of helping them. Perseverance is on there. Again, getting that goal done. You see that whole concept they keep pushing for, that endurance, that perseverance, that working to achieve goals in life, undertaking a challenge and having pride in yourself for doing so. Self-reliance kind of digs into that industriousness. Industriousness is more about work and helping others and doing what needs to be done, but self-reliance is to the point where though you can help your community, though you do help your community, you're also self-sufficient. You have the ability to sustain yourself as much as humanly possible, so that you're not an added strain on everyone else. Because if everyone else can prop themselves up and hold themselves up, that means there's far less need for everyone else to prop them up. And when you put the two concepts together, it blossoms. This day and age, there seems to be a polarity between self-sufficiency and community. And they're just completely separate. You're either 100% self-sufficient or you're 100% dependent on everyone, and you have no independence. The bridge is there, though. When they overlap is when it works best. Last one is truth. If I have to explain truth, people, we're really in a weird conversation already. Now, as you can see, as an individual term or ideal, these, by and large, aren't bad. Their origins, bad taste in their mouth. Let's be honest. I'm going to need some water just to wash that down, because that's... Also, it's freaking hot in here. Racism sucks, people. Now, I'm not going to tell a person you have to follow the 9 Noble Virtues. Largely because the ideals and concepts are great. But if Norse magic and the heathen path, whether it's spiritual, some people just follow it spiritually, they don't follow it magically at all. Over all the years I've spent camping, working with heathens, spending time with them at events, if anything I've learned, it's not about following 9 little word tenets. It's about living a good life of self, community, and hospitality, and working hard to be the best person you can be no matter what life throws at you. I honestly have to say, removing the racist dicks from the mix, which I'll be honest, in my experience, there's not many of them, thankfully. The heathen community is some of the most wonderful, kind, hardworking, helpful people I've encountered. I love them to death. I'll be honest, if I get invited to an event and I have free time, I will never turn it down. I love to spend time with them. It's always a hoot. And it is sad that they've gotten such a bad rap due to stupid people. Or another bad rap they've got is they're a bunch of alcoholics. They're actually not. If you really look at it and you actually study the Havamal, which most of them do, the Havamal speaks very, very strictly about drinking in excess. And most heathens I've encountered take this to heart. They will share a horn of mead. They will share a drink with someone. But they're pretty good about knowing their limits. So again, that's another thing that really we shouldn't be placing on heathens just because we heard it. And by God, don't get your information from Marvel, please. But I also want to point out here, okay, because let's be honest, this has been heavily tainted by, who penned this. Okay. There are other groups out there. Savagery of America actually penned some tenets of their own. I'm not as familiar with these, I'll admit, but I did track them down. And these are things like freedom of autonomy. That's a good thing. I'm totally 100% pro individual freedom. I am. Responsibility to community. I'm okay with this. See, I have my belief, I have the right and ability to my freedoms, my autonomy to help you or to not help you. But I do believe as a part of a community, I have some responsibility should I choose to take that up. Now, not everybody will. We know that person who down the street who helps nobody, and sometimes people don't help them, but oftentimes they still do. But for me, wherever I am, many of you know I move a lot due to my wife's work. Wherever I am, whatever community I get placed in, my neighbors need me for something, I'm going to help them, period. If I can help you, I'm going to help you. And if I can't help you, I'm still going to try and help you. I'm going to help you find the solution. I do believe in helping a community. I think that's a good thing. I don't think we should be required, because if you're required, that really doesn't help us be a good person. I think if we truly want to be a better people, we don't require it, but we encourage it. There's a difference, okay? That's kind of my concept on it. So I do think we should have a responsibility to our community as a good person. They mentioned Freth, which is apparently an Old Norse word. Freth, I'm probably mispronouncing that, I apologize. But apparently it means peace, hospitality, refuge, security, goodwill between parties. This kind of goes back into the hospitality that we see a lot within the heathen community. Okay, I'm cool there. I'm Southern. I was raised on hospitality, okay? You come to my house, you getting drinks, you getting food, we're going to treat you right. Next one's integrity. Everyone should have integrity in my mind. I'll be honest, if I meet someone and I quickly, what you tell me, what you say, your words, your talkie, doesn't faze me. Tell me whatever you want. Most people lie, I'll be honest with you. Your actions, I will watch you. I will keep an eye on you. Do you do what you say you're going to do? And if I find you have no integrity, believe me, I'm not going to waste time with you. You tell me something, I'm probably going to assume it's a lie. But integrity is paramount. And for those people in my life who have proven that they have that integrity, I'll stand at their side every day of my life to help them be the best they can be. And I know for a fact they would do the same for me. Integrity is important. And here we put diversity. This is a big word these days in the world. And if anything, I'd say it's almost a shame that we have to make it a big word. Because this kind of goes back to where we started. It's like, I don't care who you are. I already said it. I don't care. Come on in. Let's have a cup of coffee to have a chat. Don't drink coffee, I'll make you tea. Don't drink tea, I'll make you something. We'll find you a beverage. If I have to go to the store just to get you what you drink, I'll do it. But a diversity of understandings within magics, within religions in general, this is something we really need to understand. One of the things that breaks my heart, when I first started studying magic, I was pagan. It was more of a religious thing for me. And I went to what I viewed as a tolerant religion. this day and age, I'm not sure I can say it, because now we're at a point where if you're not my religion, you're the problem. And I've met too many people who literally look for an issue to be there so that they can still be mad at the people. That's wrong. That's wrong. And that's probably a topic for another time. But differences and embracing differences, that is a beautiful thing. There's a reason I do love my country, and the fact that it's a melting pot, and that there are so many different cultures and views, and we can learn so much about each other. In fact, I've once said that food is one of the best representations because it shows you the people, it shows you where they're from. Because food is an invention of necessity and a will to exist, and a lot of food is about comfort. So it can tell you a lot about the people. Environmental stewardship, they added that, which you do see a lot of that within there. Again, a lot of spiritual nature practices, very understanding. And it's not a bad idea in general. I mean, again, growing up in the South, hunters were big. And environmental stewardship, helping to maintain the parks, the wilds, the populations, these were all important things. So then compassion. Let's be honest, we could all use more of this, point blank, flat, period. Okay? So there's that. And then there's another one called the Code of Nine. I think someone said that Edward Thorson might have had a hand in this one. So I can't really confirm that, but I think they did. And this is another option to the 9 noble virtues that were tainted by their authors. The code is to honor. The code is to protect. The code is to flourish. The code is to knowledge. The code is to change. So the code is to fairness. The code is to balance. The code is to control. And the code is to conflict. These are the tenets that they give on it. And at first glance, some of these might be like, whoa, wait, hold on, what they say. Well, we talked about honor. Protect. This is literally protecting your kin and your loved ones. This one actually says with savagery. But honestly, if you're going to have to throw down with somebody in order to protect someone, you can't hold back. Because if you go a half measure, your loved one may be hurt. I understand that. I think a wording needs changed here. Flourish, prosperity, and growth are key to the survival of the people. Yeah, I get that. Just, let's not turn flourish into conquer. Knowledge. Knowledge is good. I like knowledge. I love knowledge. I think we should all seek more knowledge and to learn. Fairness. Okay, I like that. Pay all your debts. Pull your weight. Always hear and consider all sides. Okay, I like that one. That's good. I like that one. Balance. Remember the law of balance. As someone who practices dragon magic, I love this one. Strive to do the best you can. Strive to keep all things in balance. I'm liking that. Control. Okay, I'll be honest. I haven't read these fully until now because I did kind of want to be kind of along with you for this. You know what I mean? Because the first half of this was pretty serious, and I wanted to. Now the control, at first glance, I'll admit, this kind of like gives me a twitch. But actually looking at it, I like this. Never lose control to anger or to be baited by hostility. I like that. I like that. This ain't about control of others. This is about control of self. I think that would have perhaps been a better way to state it, is the code of control of self. But I do like that. Never strike another who is weaker. Never violate the weak or the innocent. Never tolerate those who do. Control is a mark of a disciplined mind and a sign of the greatest warrior. I like that. I really do. It talks about protecting other people. It talks about your self-control. Don't give in to anger or be baited into hostilities. That's a good one. I kind of like that one. Again, the wording on this, weird. I think it could be better worded. I'm no wordsmith, so I'm not sure. I know I'm not the crazy southerner for that. And then Code of Conflict. Okay, this one's a little weird. Those who follow the way must know the art of combat weapons, and vengeance wars part of the path. Be prepared for us. Okay. I see what they're saying here. Again, the wording on it. Okay. I do believe that every individual should have the ability to fight and defend themselves. Like it or not, war and conflict are human nature. We like to believe humans pop out into this world as good individuals. We're not. We're animals. And we are very violent animals at that. It is the philosophies and ideals that guide us and the choices we make to be better, to not act on those natural instincts that we are violent animals. So we have to accept that first, and then accepting that in order to protect ourselves from those who, well, they might not choose to be a good person. You do need to understand those things will happen, and if you actually want to defend yourself and your family and your community, you need to have a way to do so. I get that. I really do. It's a sad one. It is, but it's. I get it. I get it, and I get that. Keep the body and mind trained at all times. I like it. Again, the wording here kind of gets weird because after that they put in have no remorse for savagery or conflict. Okay, let me put it this way. You break in my house, I'm dropping you, period. I don't want to. I don't want to harm another person. But if you break in, I am going to do it. Now, there is a difference between doing what I have to do to drop you, preferably quickly. Because if it's quick, it's going to be with as little hostility or pain as possible, even if the damage is high. Savagery to me, I don't like, because that feels to me like once my opponent's down, once they're neutralized, I'm going to continue to rip them to shreds and torture them. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. But that's how I'm reading the word savagery. That may not be how they're using it, and that's fine. But as to not have remorse, I'll be honest. I don't want to hurt a person. I don't want to accidentally kill a person even in defense of my home. But if you start by breaking into my home and endangering myself or my family, especially my family, I won't regret it. I won't. I'll be sad that it happened, but I won't regret it. Okay? So that's not too bad a one. I do see how these other ones don't necessarily flow as easy, maybe. But they're not a bad idea. But again, for me, in the end, I kind of like how Jackson Crawford said it. And, you know, I'll try and link his video below this too. Or maybe in the cards, or both. But reading and meditating on the wisdom of the Havamal is a fantastic way to do it. And not try to break it into a dogmatic code. I think you would be far more benefited by meditating on the complexities of the Havamal and its individual stanzas and viewing it as an entirety of life instead of just trying to codify it into a dogmatic checklist of 9, 10, or 12 things, however many you wanted to put on there. I really do. That said, I know a lot of really, really good people who absolutely despise racism in all manners. They're very much part of the Declaration 127, if you haven't looked it up. It's essentially heathen groups that are against racism. And if you're looking for a good heathen group or whatnot that you can be sure doesn't fall into those racist ideals, a lot of the websites about Declaration 127 have ways to locate those. But I know a lot of good people who follow the 9 Noble Virtues, not because of their origins or their racist attachment because of that, but because the general concepts are a quick way to remind one person of what we can do to just live a better life. But you don't need these to do that. Like I said, you can meditate on the Havamal, or you can just actually try to be a good person. I know a lot of people who just try to live honorably and true and courageous, and that's plenty. It's to be a good person, to live a better person, to be honorable. These are very, very complex issues that cannot be summed up into something this simple. Not a bad reminder, because if you have this little checklist, it's a good way to get started as a short list. And for those people who do, I've also noticed they use this as a quick checklist, but they're constantly reading and meditating on the Havamal as well. So there is that. And I should possibly also state that I've seen a lot of sources that credit the 9 Noble Virtues to other non-racist people, but this day and age, it's so hard to figure out who's telling the truth, especially on the internet. So we have to, at the very least, consider that the largest known contributor to be the penner of this document would be the truer one, and unfortunately that is the racist one. But that, again, the person who penned it doesn't automatically contaminate the words. Because if we took these words separate out of the 9 Noble Virtues and we sat down and discussed them, hate and racism wouldn't come into it. And that's kind of the thing that a lot of people fail to miss. Now, don't get me wrong. When it comes to hating racism and fascism, I get it. I understand it. And I don't blame you. It shouldn't be tolerated. We are in a time where we're throwing these words around too easily. I'm not going to lie. I've seen a lot of people get accused of some horrible things that they never did, never would do. But then again, that's emotions are high in the world. Let's be honest. So we have to temper the not tolerating these things with not just throwing it around like water balloons at everyone we don't like or everyone we disagree with. But it is a tricky one. It is. It's a tricky one for a lot of people because their origins give them a bad taste. But you don't have to follow the 9 Noble Virtues or any of these other lists to practice heathenry. You don't need to do them to practice Norse magic. If you wish to work with the Norse and you wish to do it, look at the Eddas. Turn to the Eddas. Those are the stories of those people. Look to the Havamal for the wisdom and seek to live the best life you can. Community was important to the Norse. Okay. Do that. Focus on your community. How can you help them? That's going to be different for everyone. That's not going to be a singular answer. I can't give you that answer. Look to what you can do to be self-sufficient. What can you do to take care of yourself and your family? Because self-sufficiency helps the community, as we discussed earlier. What can you do to better yourself? These are going to be different for different people. My health is important to me because I do like to be able to do work and help my community, so strength and health are kind of important there. Now, if I really didn't give a rat's rump about my community, let's be honest, most of my life is spent on the YouTube and the computer and doing magic. Strength ain't really that big of a deal. I got to be able to lift a laptop. Well, okay, some camera equipment and what's, but not much. So I'd end up like a little scrawny scholar probably. But I don't want that because I want the ability to do other things and help my community in other ways, as well as my friends and family. So, it's going to be different. And it's something we all should meditate. Just because you can't bench press X doesn't make you a bad person or a bad heathen. In fact, when we talk about courage, doing what's right, what is doing right? The argument can be made that if someone flees from a conflict, not to run from the conflict in fear, but to flee to their family to protect them. Okay, on the surface it looks like they ran from the conflict. But in truth, for them, what was right was to put the priority on their family, and they retreated from the scenario to protect their family. That's where they're going to stand their ground. That's not cowardly. That isn't. That's actually courage, because first off, you are making the decision to protect and stand your ground. You are. You're choosing your battle. That's smart. That's wise. And you're doing what is right by you because your family is important. You're making that choice. And you're making the choice to face the ridicule of those who may actually thought you fled in cowardness. And oftentimes that's the hard one. That is the really hard one. To face the ridicule of others for you doing what is right because they don't understand what motivated you. And truth be told, it's not your responsibility to make sure they understand it. See, living a good life and living well doesn't always require explanation, and people ain't going to like it. They're not required to like it, and we're not entitled for them to like it, but we're also not required to explain our actions to them. So it's a very complex thing that it just can't be summed up into not a checklist of 9 things. It can't. And I realize this video is probably going to be one of my longest ever, and it's also probably one of the least fun because of the topic in general. But anyone interested in Norse or heathenism, I think these are important concepts that we should talk about. And maybe I'll do more videos focusing on these individually instead of the virtues themselves of how we could implement living a good life as a good person, both family and community, along the Norse concepts on the channel, and see how that goes. We'll see how that goes. I might start a series on that. Anyways, I hope this helps a little bit with the understanding of the 9 noble virtues, why so many people have a bad view of them, why some people don't have a bad view of them. And just because a person holds a particular view of them, be careful, because you may be misjudging them. And we don't want to do that. We want to try and take in the total picture and understanding there. We don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater, you know what I mean? But that all aside, again, I can't state enough. Racism is bullshit. Hate for the sake of just hating someone because they're different is bullshit. Look, I don't care who you are. I don't care your gender. I don't care your race. I don't care what you call yourself. I don't judge a person by any of that. A person who treats me well, I will treat them well. A person with integrity, that's a wonderful thing. A person who respects me, I will respect them. None of that other stuff matters. And if it matters to you so much that it's like you can't have anything to do with this person for gender, orientation, skin color, do me a favor, save us the conversation, just see yourself out. All right, sorry for the extremely long, heavy video today, but I thought it was a very, very important topic to cover. Hopefully next week we'll have something a bit more upbeat, a bit more fun. And until next time, everyone, I'm Drake. This has been Working Dragon Mystic. Take care. Bye-bye.